Okay, so we are working word problems today. When I was watching Mr. Walker teach him, I noticed how careful we had to be when we are looking at these problems to make sure we find out exactly what it is that they are asking for, because we could come up with a number that's not even what they're asking for. So we need to, as this says, read the question carefully. Okay, so let's take a look at this first problem together. For the bake sale, Connie baked 144 cookies. Esther baked 49 more cookies than Connie. About how many cookies did Connie and Esther bake? Estimate by rounding each number to the nearest 10 before adding. So when I'm looking at this problem, I see that Connie baked this many, but Esther baked 49 more than that many. So I cannot just add these two numbers together to find out how many they baked altogether. Because if I just add these two numbers together, I'm going to find out how many Esther baked. Do you see that? But it's not asking how many Esther baked. It's asking how many did Connie and Esther bake. So the first thing we're going to have to do on this problem is find out how many Esther baked, because we know she baked 49 more than Connie, and Connie baked 144. So we've got to find out first how many Esther baked. So we're going to go over here before we start even doing anything else. We're going to do our 144 that Connie baked plus the 49 more than 144 Esther baked. So then we're going to add this. 4 plus 9 is 3. That's tiny, isn't it? 4 plus 9 is 13, rather. Put our 3 down, carry our 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Plus 4 is 9. And 1 plus nothing is 1. So Esther, I'm just going to write it up here. She baked 193. Connie baked 144. All right. But that's not what it asks us to find. That's what's tricky about these problems. So what it says on part A is about. That doesn't mean exactly. It means about. So we're going to round. About how many cookies did Connie and Esther bake? Estimate by rounding each number to the nearest 10 before adding. So we want to know how many Connie and Esther baked together. We know Connie exactly 144. Esther exactly 193, but they want us to round to the nearest tens. So we've got a lot of steps here. So let's take Connie's 144 cookies, and we've got to round that to the tens place. What's to the right of it? It's a 4. 4 or less, let it rest. So this 4 stays a 4, and that becomes a 0. So when we round it, we can say Connie baked about 140 cookies. Now let's take Esther's 193 cookies. We're rounding to the nearest 10. Okay, so we got a 3 to the side of it. 4 or less, let it rest. That 9 is going to stay a 9. So Esther baked about 190 cookies. So Connie baked about 140. Esther baked about 190. That about is the key word because it's wanting us to round. So now we're going to add. 0 plus 0 is 0. 4 plus 9 is 13. Put our 3 down, carry our 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. Plus 1 is 3. So I'm going to be real clear and make sure they know that's my answer. So they baked about 330 cookies. Now I'm just writing cookies. You don't need to write cookies on yours, on the problem. It will probably count it wrong if you did. So they baked about that many. Now, B wants to know exactly how many cookies did they bake together. Well, we can't use these rounded numbers. Now we've got to use these actual numbers that they baked. So let's see. And I didn't do what I told you to do yesterday. I didn't put the bigger number on top. So now we've got to add the exact numbers. So Esther baked 193 plus Connie's 144. Now that's exactly how many each of them baked. Now we'll add it together to find out exactly how many they baked together. 3 plus 4 is 7. 9 plus 4 is 13. Put our 3 down and carry our 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So they baked exactly 337 cookies. So that's the first two parts of this problem. But part C says, is your answer reasonable? Compare your estimate, which is this, to your part A, to your answer from part B, and write a sentence to explain your reasoning. Now, what this is asking us is this. Are these numbers close together? Because if this said 579 and this said 330, would 579 be a reasonable answer? No, something went wrong if it was that far apart. But these answers are pretty close together. So write a sentence to explain our reasoning. Well, it's a good estimate because we could say it several ways. We could say the numbers are close together, or we could say, well, let's just say that because the numbers are very close. Okay, we could be more specific and we could say because the exact number is only 7 more than the estimate. That would be fine too. Okay, so there's our first problem. There's a lot of steps, aren't there? It's a lot more than just adding today. We've got to read carefully. Let's take a look at problem number 2. I think we've got 4 to do all together. So we're going to work through each of these today with you because I want you to just make sure we're doing this right. This is how your assignment is going to look today. Raffle tickets were sold for a school fundraiser to parents, teachers, and students. 563 tickets were sold to teachers. 888 more tickets were sold to students than teachers. 904 tickets were sold to parents. About how many tickets were sold to parents, teachers, and students rounding? So we're going to estimate that first one. Now, where's the tricky part of this problem? Do you see it? We know there were exactly 563 tickets sold to teachers. But here's the tricky part. There were 888 more tickets sold to students than teachers. It doesn't tell us how many there was tickets sold to students, does it? It just says there were 888 more tickets sold to those students than there were sold to the teachers. But it does tell us exactly how many tickets were sold to the parents. So the number we've got to find then, before we can do any of this, we've got to find out how many tickets were sold to the students exactly. And what we know is there were 563 sold to teachers, and there were 888 more than that sold to students. So we need to find the exact number by adding these two together. 3 plus 8 is 11. Put our 1 down, carry our 1. 1 plus 6 is 7. Plus 8 is 15. 5 down, carry our 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. Plus 8 is 14. So there were students, I'm going to write it right here. Students, there were 1,451 tickets sold to students. We found that out when we added these two numbers. So now we know 563 were teachers, 1,451 were students, and 904 sold to parents. Now we know our numbers. So now we're ready for the questions. Part A says about how many tickets were sold to parents, teachers, and students. And the key word we see in this one again is about. Round each number to the nearest 100 to find your estimate. So we're going to estimate by rounding each number. Excuse me. Must be getting allergies again. So let's round each number to the nearest hundred. So we'll put our numbers down. So 563 were sold to teachers. Were 888 sold to students? No. 1,451 were sold to students. 904 were sold to parents. There's our three numbers we're working with. But it wants us to estimate, to round to the nearest hundred. So let's underline the hundreds place in these problems. And let's round them. So 5 in the hundreds place, but it's got a 6 to the right. 5 or more raise the score. So that's going to change that to about 600 tickets were sold to parents. I'm sorry, teachers. And then we've got to round this to the hundreds place. So got a 4 there, but it's got a 5 to the right. It's going to make this round up to a 5. So it makes it about 1,500 were sold to students. This one, we've got a 0 beside it, so we're going to let it rest. So about 900 were sold to parents. So there's our estimated numbers. They're rounded. So now to find out about how many were sold altogether, we've got to add those three numbers that we just estimated. We've got to add them. So the biggest one, I like to put it on top, 1,500 plus 900 plus 600. We've got three numbers to work with. Can you do it? Sure you can. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 5 plus 9 is 14. Plus 6 is 20. Put our 0 down and carry that 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. Put our comma in the right spot. So if we are estimating by rounding to the nearest hundred, there are 3,000 tickets sold between all three groups, parents, teachers, and students. Now remember, that's about how many. And now the next question says exactly how many. So we're not going to use our numbers we rounded. This time we're going to use the exact numbers and add them. So 1,451 plus 904 plus 563. Now we'll add these. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 3 is 8. 5 plus 0 is 5, plus 6 is 11. Put our 1 down. We've got another group to carry over there to hundreds. 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 9 is 14, plus 5 is 19. Put our 9 down. Carry our group to the thousands place. 1 plus 1 is 2. And so exactly there were 2,918 tickets sold exactly. Now, letter C says, assess the reasonableness of your answer in B. Use your estimate from A to explain. So basically that's asking, again, are these numbers pretty close? If someone was to ask the principal of the school, about how many tickets did you sell? And he said 3,000. We sold about 3,000. Would he be right in saying that? They didn't ask exactly, did they? Is 2,918 about 3,000? It is, isn't it? Yeah. We didn't get, we rounded not to the tens place or the ones place, but to the hundreds place. Not to the tens or the ones place, but the hundreds place. So our number's going to be separated a little bit more than last time, but they're still, when we're dealing with thousands, that's still pretty close. So we're going to say, we're going to use it, the estimate to explain. So this answer is reasonable because 2,918 is pretty close to 3,000. All right. Got it? The tricky part about these is finding that missing number up here in the problem. So let's look at a couple more, and then I'll let you go work. Number 3. From 2010 to 2011, the population of Queens increased by 16,075. Brooklyn's population increased 11,870 more than the population increase of Queens. Okay, so Queens increased by this much, and Queens is a city in New York. Brooklyn's increased by this many more than this much. So the missing information is, how much did Brooklyn's population increase? It didn't increase by that. It increased by that many more than that. So here's the two numbers we've got to find out first. Okay, so I'm going to put a Q for Queens. We know Queens increased by exactly 6,075. But I need to know what is 11,870 more than that. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to write 6,075, and then I'm going to increase it. In other words, I'm going to add to it by this many more. So 5 plus 0 is 5. 7 plus 7 is 14. Put our 4 down, carry our 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 8 is 9. 6 plus 1 is 7. 1 plus 1 is 2. So Queens was that much. Brooklyn was 11,000 more than that much. So Brooklyn, I'm going to write it over here. For B for Brooklyn, Brooklyn's population increased by 27,945. Okay. Letter A. Estimate the total combined population increase of Queens and Brooklyn from 2010 to 2011. So we're estimating again. We're not using the exact numbers. And we're going to estimate by rounding the add-ins, the two numbers that we're adding together. Add-ins are the numbers you're adding together. This time we're rounding them to the nearest 1,000. So let's look at take our two numbers. Brooklyn increased in population by 27,945. And Queens increased by 16,075. And we're going to round them by rounding them to the nearest thousands place to estimate. Okay. So this one, Brooklyn's population increase, 27,945. We've got a 9 to the right of the 7. 5 or more, raise the score. That's going to make 27,000, 28,000. And then Queens, we've got a 6 in the thousands place with a 0 beside it. 4 or less, let it rest. It's going to stay 16,000. So now we have our estimates, but now we've got to find the total combined. Add these two together, right? 28,000 plus 16,000. Add all these zeros. They're still zeros. 8 plus 6 is a 14. Put our 4 down. Carry our 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. So the estimated population increase of Queens and Brooklyn together is 44,000 in that year. So 44,000 more people moved into those two cities during that year. Part B says, find the actual total combined population increase. So now, just like we've been doing, we're not going to take these rounded numbers. We have to add the actual numbers. So remember, Brooklyn increased by 27,945. Queens by exactly 16,075. So we'll add these to get the exact number. 5 plus 5 is 10. Put our 0 down. Carry our 1. 1 plus 4 is 5. Plus 7 is 12. Put our 2 down. Carry our 1. 1 plus 9 is 10. Plus 0 is still 10. Put our 0 down. Carry our 1. 1 plus 7 is 8. Plus 6 is 14. Put our 4 down. Carry our 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. So the actual population increase was 44,020. Assess the reasonableness of your answer in B. Use your estimate to explain. Wow, look at how close these two numbers are together. They're only 20 apart. 20 people. So this answer is reasonable because it's only 20 more than the estimate. Yeah. So if someone said, about how many people moved to Queens and Brooklyn during that year, and if you said about 44,000, that would be right. And if somebody said exactly, you would say 44,020, and that would be close. So those numbers are very close. Okay, I'm going to do one more with you. I think there's one more. Yes. Now, while I'm doing this, Mr. Taylor's probably going to get on the intercom, so I may have to stop because here at school today, it's almost 3 o'clock while I'm recording this, but I'll just wait till he finishes, and then we'll finish this problem together, okay? So number 4 says, during National Recycling Month, Mr. Yardley's class spent 4 weeks collecting empty cans to recycle. So here's the number of cans they collected during the weeks, but we don't know how many he collected in week number 2. It's missing. Letter A says, during week 2, that's the one we don't know, the class collected 1,256 more cans than they did during week 2. Find the total number of cans Mr. Yardley's collected in 4 weeks. Well, before we can find all 4 weeks together, we've got to find week 2. So in week 2, they collected 1,256 more than week 1. So let's look over here. Week 1 was 10,827, but in week 2, they collected 1,256 more than that. So if we add that together, we'll find out how many they collected in week 2. So let's add. 7 plus 6 is 13. Put a 3 down, carry a 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 8. 8 plus 2 is 10. Put our 0 down, carry our 1. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 1 is 2. 1 plus nothing is still 1. So this tells us that in week 2, they collected 12,083 cans. Now, let's go back to the question, or what it's asking us to do on part A. So we know we found our number for week 2, and then after that it says, find the total number of cans Mr. Yardley's class collected in 4 weeks. So, can we add 4 numbers at the same time? What do you think? I think you can. Let's just line them up here, make sure we line them up correctly. 10,827, 12,083, 10,522, and 20,011. Now we got to be really careful. Ooh, I didn't line it up good. Sorry. Okay, so 20,011. I got a little sloppy there, my bad. So we got to be really careful as we add to remember where we are. 7 plus 3 is 10, plus 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. We'll put our 3 down, carry our 1 to the tens place. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 8 is 11, plus 2 is 13, plus 1 is 14. Put our 4 down, carry our 1 to the hundreds place. 1 plus 8 is 9, plus 0 is 9, plus 5 is 14, plus 0 is still 14. Put our 4 down, carry our 1 to the thousands place. 1 plus 0 is 1, plus 2 is 3, plus 0 is still 3, plus 0 is still 3. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. Put our comma in the right place. So all together in 4 weeks, they collected 53,443 cans. Oh, but it's not going to let us end there, is it? We have to assess the reasonableness of our answer in A.
It's been a beautiful, beautiful.
I'll wait till Mr. Taylor finishes.
You ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you've been inside our day. Way too pretty to play video games and turn on TV. So get outside and enjoy this beautiful afternoon. Third and fourth graders, you may go.
Okay, so we've got to estimate the total number of cans collected. Okay, does it tell us exactly what to round and everything? It doesn't, does it? So it just says assess the reasonableness of your answer in A, which is this, by estimating the total number of cans collected. So let's just take these. What place do you think? Let's just pick the thousands place. So let's write the exact numbers over here. Kind of letting us pick our own place we're going to round it to this time. You don't want to round it to the ones place because that's not going to change it very much, is it? But I think we can estimate. Let's just do the thousands place again. Usually if you got a number in the 10,000s place, you don't want to do much less than the thousands place, or your numbers are going to be not that estimated. All right, so got a 0 in the thousands place with an 8 beside it. That makes that go to a 1. So that's almost 11,000 in week 1. Week 2 was this many. We've got a 2 with a 0 beside it, so it stays 12,000. So in week 2, they collected about 12,000 cans. Week 3, we've got a 5 beside the 10.
Okay, fifth graders.
That 5 or more raised the score. That makes that 11,000. And this one, we've got a 0 in the thousands place with a 0 beside it. So that leaves it at 20,000. All right. Now let's add these together. Okay, you think we can just add them right here, save ourselves some writing? Let's do it. All these zeros are still going to be zeros when we add them. So let's go to the thousands place. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. 54,000. So 53,443, 54,000. Were we pretty close? We're pretty close. So we can say the answer is reasonable because the estimate and the actual number are pretty close. There we go. Okay. Now, I want you to go try this. Remember, as you do your work, as you do it today, be really careful as you read the questions. Try to find that missing part that they're trying to get you to find first in the question. It's going to take some time today, so take your time and do these carefully. You're going to do a good job.